Hi, and welcome to 647, 6 stories for 7 a.m. because there's a famine of truth in our land. And this is your quick news fix, and the truth starts now. And guess what? It's Friday the 13th. You know what that means? It's the luckiest day of the month in Italy. That's right. This is their lucky day there. So it's going to be good for us. And we're going to kick it off with John Nolte savaging CNN. One of my favorite things to participate in. Disgraced CNN circling the drain after losing nearly 2/3 of viewers. CNN serial lies, smug anchors, bigotry towards everyday people, and Trump derangement syndrome have the far left outlet circling the drain, per a report from the Daily Mail, a lib speaker. CNN has lost nearly 2/3 of its primetime viewers over the past decade. Reads the report, the decrease from roughly 1.3 million to 553,000. Man, you lost 7.5 in there somewhere, is fueling rumors of a possible network sale. CNN has vehemently denied the far-left outlet is for sale, but why should we believe anything that comes from CNN after 10 years of this? Only 14% of deportees are criminals. Hoax. Canadian mass shooter was female. Hoax. Melania Doc is a box office flop. Hoax. The rural America can't live without NPR PBS. Hoax. The ICE detains a 5-year-old. Hoax. The photo of starving Gaza boy. Hoax. The Israeli troops murdered food-seeking Palestinians. Hoax. The Trump terrorists will explode prices. Hoax. And Elon Musk Nazi salute. Hoax. You can't beat it. What's truly amazing is that 533,000 number is actually an improvement from January, when stars like Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett and Caitlin Collins only secured 488,000 sets of eyes for being insufferable. To the surprise of no one, moving the 197-year-old leftist drone Wolf Blitzer to daytime did nothing to help those ratings. Per the report, daytime viewership has collapsed from a 2016 average of 752,000 to 433,000. Oh, and compared to 2021, CNN has lost 71% of primetime viewers and 73% of daytime viewers. As Emmanuel Macron might say, CNN sucks. All right, so no sense of humor, no humility, no apologies for misleading the public over the last 10 years. Instead, CNN continues to march itself over a cliff, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It is fun. Unfortunately, they still do plenty of damage because it's on almost everywhere. People are barely conscious. All right, take two. Trump revokes EPA finding on greenhouse gas threat in huge blow to climate change regulations. This is a follow-up from yesterday. This is the most important legislation that Trump has passed in this second term, and it's going to have a massive effect everywhere. The Trump administration has repealed an EPA rule that classified carbon dioxide and 5 other greenhouse gases as a threat to public health. The endangered finding underpinned regulations that set emission standards for cars, light trucks, power plants, and oil and gas industry facilities. It is the most significant action taken yet by the Trump administration to dismantle U.S. regulations that address climate change. And if you live through this, and basically everybody breathing right now lived through it, It was as panicked and desperate as the ICE thing is right now. It was people saying, we're all going to die. We're going to be gone in 50 years. Politicians asking for billions of dollars because the oceans were going to overflow. The polar bears were going to be extinct. I mean, there wasn't anything stupid enough that politicians especially wouldn't get out in front of. Meanwhile, we had a fake pandemic with fake vaccines that killed millions of people, and nobody, and I mean nobody, can point to who died from climate change, you clowns. Let's line up all the professors. Anyone die from climate change? No. Let's count up the 30 years of hysteria about it and taxation about it and all kinds of changes to automobile manufacturing and everything else. Do you notice that it's gotten any cooler? That for all those trillions of dollars that were wasted and spent, did anything get cooler? No, because if you gave them whatever's after $1 trillion, they still couldn't lower it. It's all a grift. It was all just a con. So it's actually sad that everybody knew this thing was a fake. The left just all play along because it allowed them to amass all kinds of taxation everywhere, all over the world, right? Europe is somewhat desperate now because they played along with all that. You swallowed the climate change pill, then you swallowed the Green New Deal pill, then you swallow the immigration pill, and you're a jerk. All right. The Trump administration on Thursday revoked a landmark scientific finding that serves as the legal foundation for federal regulations to limit greenhouse gas emissions in a devastating blow to efforts to combat climate change. The Environmental Protection Agency Endangerment finding, thank you, Obama, you scumbag, established under President Barack Obama in 2009, classified carbon dioxide, methane, and 4 other greenhouse gases as threats to public health and welfare. Be afraid, be very afraid. And they made school kids absolutely afraid. It underpins Clean Air Act emission standards and rules for cars and light trucks and power plants and oil and gas industry facilities. This is about as big as it gets, President Donald Trump said at the White House with EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding. Zeldin said all greenhouse gas emissions standards on light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles that followed the endangerment finding have been eliminated. No longer will automakers be pressured to shift their fleets toward electric vehicles. Elon, your allowance is now on rockets. All right, take 3. No oil, no lights, few flights. Trump's squeeze has Cuba in a dark place. The president believes the communist island will be the next to fall to American dominance, but it is not clear just how the blockade will lead to regime change. It's pretty clear. It's just that he doesn't want to answer the press who want to blame him for whatever. You know, if he solved every disease in the world, they'd go, he's anti-medicine. All right, international flights are being canceled. Petrol has all but run out. Universities have closed. The electricity supply is more off than on, and nobody quite knows how it will end. President Trump's bet is that the communist government of Cuba is going down for the count, the next pawn to fall after Venezuela in his effort to rid the Americas of anti-American regimes. His strategy has been to squeeze Cuba where it is most vulnerable, its fuel supplies. The island produces some of its own oil, but only enough for 30% of its needs, because that's how communists roll. Don't listen to Bernie Sanders, a goofball. All the remaining energy that is requires to function, from fuel for power plants to diesel for food deliveries, it imports. The cutoff took some weeks to be felt, but now the reality has hit. This is a total collapse. The owner of a bar close to Malecon seafront promenade in Havana, who asked for his name not to be published, said there is no fuel, no public transport, and now no private transport. For the first time, he could remember even Cuba's vast black market, a normally unstoppable underground economy, had ground to a halt. It's not going to take much time now. That's done. And then it becomes the Isle of Mar-a-Lago. And the new president, Marco Rubio. It's going to be good. Okay, take 4. Dow slides 600 points. S&P 500 falls for a third day as AI disruption fears rattle markets. Live updates. Traders work on the floor at the New York Stock Exchange. You know, this is all meant to scare all of the little people, and then they sell off, and then everyone else sweeps in and buys up things on a discount. It's all the standard play. Stocks dropped on Thursday as investors began to worry about the negative side of AI build-out, which threatens to disrupt the business models of whole industries and raise unemployment. They said all this stuff about the internet. They said all this stuff about email. It's the end of the world, and everyone runs for the exits, and then they come back in and buy it all on the cheap. Dirtbags. All right. So all these industries, their stocks plummeted 14% on fears that AI would streamline certain revenue lines. All right. So nobody knows yet. A sell-off in silver, which has been a hot trade amongst the retail investor crowd this year, added to the risk-off mentality Thursday. Silver futures tumbled 10%. Investors sought safety in more defensive areas of the market. Walmart and Coca-Cola, right? Got to be a genius. Shares were up 3.8% respectively. Look, if you're running for the exits on silver, you don't know anything about the manufacturing need for silver over the next 10 years. So if you keep selling off on the low side, you deserve what you get. You'll be looking at it longingly 5 years from now. All right, that's the end of this story. Timing the market. It's a joke. All right, was that 4? Man, we're burning through this. Take 5. Secretary Lutnick, $400 billion of pharma manufacturing coming home to America. Okay, that's great. But what's also great is that China can't strangle us off. $400 billion of pharmaceutical manufacturing is headed to the U.S. thanks to the Trump administration's policies, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said Wednesday at a policy discussion hosted by Breitbart News. We're going to get cheaper drugs to America, and they're going to be made here as well. I expect we're going to have $400 billion of onshoring of pharmaceuticals. Just so you know, we used to have all of that industry on Puerto Rico, and the Puerto Ricans were just having a blast. They all had jobs, and we didn't worry about pharmaceuticals. And then our brilliant politicians said, well, let's let China do all that. Yeah. As they stuffed their pockets with yuan, right? This is leadership in our country. They put us over a barrel all the time, okay? And the damn Republicans in the Senate are the worst. we're going to get cheaper drugs to America, and they're going to be made here as well. I expect we're going to have $400 billion of onshoring of pharmaceuticals. We're going to onshore. We're going to figure out how to onshore generics as well, Lutnick explained. Lutnick described the United States as a dominant force in global pharmaceutical markets due to its spending power. Generally speaking, for name brand drugs, Ozempic, Mounjaro, things like that, we produce 75% of the revenues and 100% of their profits, right? Because we are the big payer. We pay $1,000 and everyone else pays $150. Lutnick outlined the Trump administration's policy that tied favorable drug pricing to domestic manufacturing. So the president said, reshore it, make it here, and take a certain class of your drugs and give us MFN. What's MFN? Most favored nation pricing. Then, while you're building and reshoring here, I won't charge you a massive tariff. See how hard that was? And they all go, yes, sir. All right, that's the end of that one. All right, we're at take 6. We're at the end of the week here. And wow, what a happy story we have. Floridians dig up street to rescue 400-pound manatee trapped in storm drain. Why would he pick this? You know, he's getting very strange. Floridians joined forces to rescue a 400-pound manatee from a dangerous situation in Melbourne Beach on Tuesday. The manatee was living in the North Tampa Bay area and was seeking a career in the golf industry. However, 7 years ago, after migrating south to the Clearwater St. Pete area, the creature decided to change genders and no longer wished to be addressed as manatee, but swim-atee. When she became stuck in a storm drain and workers began calling her Melby because this was near Melbourne Beach, Melby, soon-to-be Democratic Senator from Texas, Jasmine Crockett, flew in and was very quick to note that Melby was a slave name, which was patronizing because she was lost. The swimmatee was lost, and so they were giving her a slave name. There was also preoccupation with her weight. Why did they have to mention she was 400 pounds? And then later they said she was 1,400 pounds. And this was a short article. AOC showed up to talk with the press, that's saying that she was assisting Melby in bringing a large load of methane to relatives in Cuba for cooking due to Trump's inhumane fuel embargo. Gavin Newsom arrived after dawn to insist that the entire water system be drained, as manatees are far more mobile out of water. So then the Royal Canadian Mounted Police arrived. They wanted to oversee that the correct pronouns were used, she, her, and swimmatee monikers, that they were dealt with respectfully. Several U of F students identified Melby from an anti-ICE rally the night before. Video footage showed crews digging up huge chunks of the street to free the creature. Another clip shows the moment the swimmatee was lifted out of the hole in a blue tarp to safety, and everyone at the scene cheering. Ray. Well, Melby was taken by wrecker to SeaWorld Orlando, where she will hold a press conference. Wow. Her agent announced that she has accepted a permanent position on The View and says that she believes she will feel right at home there. I agree. What a wonderful story to end the week on. Aren't you happy about that as you head into the weekend? Nobody got hurt. Somebody got a great job. And wow, let's continue with this. Okay, so what else can I say except, dear Father in heaven, thank you, dear God, for stretching out your arms and covering us this week. There is still madness all around us and all around the globe, dear God, but you know how it all ends. So please give us your wisdom and discernment as we walk this path with you. I ask you to please stretch out your arms, dear Jehovah, and bless this community of 647. God bless you all. Have a great weekend, and thank you for participating this week. Take care.
Take a picture, it'll last longer. The mirror on the wall say I'm getting stronger. Hey, yo, the mirror don't lie. If you want the truth, don't close your eyes.